There's even someone I interviewed not too long ago a lovely guy, anthropologist, runs um, tribes for men and coaching for men, and so
Mm,
well intentioned towards his concept of helping men. But one thing that we really disagreed on that spoke to something you just said was that he thinks that men, if they're to be friends or hang out together, they have to have a common purpose. They have to be doing this together or that together, or join
agree.
a group, or have a business group together, or do a sport together, something like that. And what I've read and what I agree with is that I think that's why it makes male relationships easier to break down, because once you're no longer in that group for whatever
Right.
reason, they disappear. And I think that's because after I had that idea, I've been speaking to some of my older friends at back in Canada that I've known for 20, 30 years now, and I was just saying how grateful I am for those friendships, because the four or five of us that are in such close contact, we couldn't be more different for things that we like. And the only some of the only shared things we have are memories from our 20s,
Mm,
and that we still appreciate and love each other. And
mm,
so I know that these friendships are not going away in 20 years, because it's not based on if we all have $1 million businesses. It's
mm,
not based on us all playing in the same football league that eventually you age out of those activities.
mm.
It's just based on us enjoying being around each other. And I think that's something that a lot of female friendships get right,
Yeah. Yeah.
that male friendships I think miss, because I think a lot of men feel like they have to be worthy to engage in a friendship. So there's always some sort of, in many ways, a lot of competition, that like they have to prove themselves of value to be part of these groups, where I think if there are more relational skills that perhaps men can be allowed to have as boys, that we can just throw away this idea of having to earn a friendship,
Mm,
and just exist in it to accept that connection. I know these are even things that I work on as well, trying to just not trying to manage relationships and just kind of let them be. But I don't know, like as you went through a lot of these conversations, because I think a lot of men are just looking for people to feel safe around, that they can
mm.
open up without feeling like they're going to be punished for doing
Oh my
so.
God.
And
Yeah.
so I suppose my next question would be, where does all of this start? I mean, like, where is the breadcrumb trail come from that goes from a healthy, young, happy, emotive young boy to either a teen or an adult male who thinks that they should not be in existence anymore?
Mm. It's so moving hearing you talk about the idea of friendship. And I just want to say quickly, obviously, my research is always limited by the fact that I'm a woman. So when I'm having conversations with men, when I'm analyzing the data, I'm doing it through a lens of someone biologically female, socialized as a woman. And so there's aspects of um, the male experience. Sorry, I've got a cat coming out. There's aspects of the male experience that I can't fully understand. But then there's, as a woman researching the male experience, one thing I can do is take things that I hear and filter that through a female lens. And so obviously there's lots of men that do have very deep, loving, meaningful friendships, but I do speak to other men who describe sort of what you've talked about, this feeling of how do you of struggling to find spaces in which they can feel safe and not feel potentially punished or judged for things that they might say. And when I take that idea and I filter that through my understanding as a woman, I think about how much my mental health relies on the sort of love and support and intimacy and connection that I get from my friendships. And I think if I was denied that, if I had to do life without that, it's almost an unbearable thought, because I can feel how horrifically horrifically lonely and exhausting and stressful that would be. And then you start to think, oh my God, as a woman, I've been socialized to have so much privilege, I think, potentially in those friendships that I've been sort of culturally facilitated to have and to access. And I'm not saying that there aren't, biological factors that play into this, but that's not my area of research. But it's very, I think when we have that conversation, for example, as friendship, I would encourage women listening to think about what we mean, what are the implications of that for men and for their lives, um, and how absolutely brutal that can be for some people. And yet at the same time, I remember having a conversation early on in my research with a participant who was saying to me, he was talking about the incredible capacity men have to take care of one another. And he was talking, sort of historically about, the wars or like sports teams, as you've mentioned, but this propensity to sort of, the most extreme scenarios, put body on the line to protect your brothers and to care and be alongside them in huge challenge and to work as a team in a way. And I thought, that is so striking. And where is the space, certainly in Western cultures, for this conversation of brotherhood to happen in a way that we're allowed to have a conversation about sisterhood, and for brotherhood to be allowed to be something, potentially a beautiful resource in the way that sisterhood can be for women. And I'm not saying in any way, Michael, that we go off in separate directions but there is a validation and intimacy that we share with people, that I think it is important to create space for, whilst at the same time doing that really important work as men and women of understanding each other and listening to each other. And I need men to understand what the experience of for me in the world as a woman is, and vice versa.